We just putting the blame squarely at his feet because as men, I think a lot of men fall into this trap, right? Where you are so infatuated with a woman, you put her on a pedestal, and then you allow these things to occur because you pedestalize her. This is what I mean when I say you should not be in a situation where you're just overly infatuated with the woman because our love and their love does not equate the same. A man looking up to a woman and being so in love and infatuated with her will always end with disrespect. And a woman looking up to a man and being infatuated with him will end in a great, happy, long relationship. We appreciate each other differently, and we communicate differently, and we intermingle differently. And unfortunately, this is an example of a woman that didn't want you, and you forced that issue. At any time, any man in the audience, any man that's watching, you force the issue from a woman who feels that she's better than you or looks down on you, you will find yourself in this position in some way, shape, or form in the future. It is not a good deal. Never take it. Care about yourself enough to understand that you deserve to be treated and respected this way as a man. And if you don't set those boundaries and make sure you get that, everything that happens from that point on lays squarely in the feet or in your lap. That is your fault. It is your fault at that point.
I like that.
Understood. Now
Oh,
this is things that I preach on a regular basis. Is go
Trey,
ahead,
Trey.
go ahead.
I'm gonna come back around. Let me just get the other people.
All right, I got you.
All right, go ahead, Clap.
All right. I wanted to say that I agree with things that were said on both sides. Like I agree with a lot of what Trev said, and I also agree with Mr. Lego said. I think what they're debating is like the difference between like blame and responsibility. So 100% everything that goes on in the relationship is entirely Will Smith's responsibility. But I think Trev is right when he says like the blame though for specific actions has to be on Jada Pinkett Smith. And one point he made that I also agreed with was he talked about empathy. And it's like we talk about like, you know, the situation that Will Smith is in, and I agree, he's in a bad situation and he chose it. But when it comes to empathy, right? Okay, let's look at let's look at his life and look at the person how he was shaped as a person. From my understanding, this is a person who witnessed his mom get abused, right? And so this is someone who like has a savior complex built in because of the abuse that he witnessed his mom through growing up. He
I
felt
wouldn't
like when he
argue.
was a young boy, he felt as though he failed her. And so now it's not hard to conceive that in his older age, he would feel the need to take on a woman who many might perceive as broken because he might feel like the right thing to do as a man is to fix her or protect her, right? So if we're using empathy, we kind of got to understand that his life, that very well might be what's driving him. On top of that, now we also have to have empathy for the fact that Will Smith's brand has always, since day one, been extremely clean. It's always been a very family friendly brand. And what does that mean? That means that even if Will Smith wants to wild out and be single, he really can't. Like we're talking about it from a perspective of people who have never been the biggest movie star in the world. Will Smith was the biggest movie star in the world at a point. He was the biggest actor in the world at a point. And so he has a lot of weight on his shoulders as far as representing just the black community in general. Like he was the poster child, the face of the professional black man, you know? So it's like if we're being empathetic to his situation, it's like whether he wanted to or not, he needed to have a wife, right? He did jump from situation to situation and probably didn't give it time to heal, but he needed a wife. A person like Will Smith during that time, we're talking about in the 90s, he was never going to excel to the levels that he excelled to if he didn't have a wife to continue
Wow,
that
he had a
He
wife.
family.
had a wife.
He had a wife. He
He had a
divorced
wife.
his
Hold
wife.
on. He
He had
had
a
a
He had a
wife.
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 I agree
No,
that
hold
he
on,
had a
man.
wife. I agree that he had a wife, but it wasn't picture perfect. His
Oh
wife
my.
wasn't like we even have songs where they said, "Oh, we want to be like Will and Jada." We're underestimating the power behind that black love brand, right? And behind that Will and Jada thing and that family thing and the kids being named Willow and Jaden, like that in itself is an entire brand, an entire empire. And in order for them to get to a certain level, that's what they had to do. He had to that's what he foresaw for his brand. So I think that's something we're overlooking. Now, when it comes to his situation, I agree with Paris as well. Like, I definitely think he's somebody who was having his way. He was living his life the way he wanted to live it. And so that's another reason why he lets Jada rock with what's going on. Because the only way that he can live the life he wants to and avoid public scrutiny because of his brand is he has to have a mask. And Jada is part of that mask. She's the face. She's the face of the brand. And so on the back end, we don't know who he's with and who he's kicking it with, but we still know them as Will and Jada and the Smith family with the kids and on top of that. Now, now I want to say something else. Now, this is something I can't prove. This is something that's not fact. So I don't want to put it out there as if it's fact or as if it's gossip. But somebody said this in the chat, and I think there's some truth to it. People might agree, people might disagree. Someone said that Jada Pinkett is a beard. And if you know what a beard is is someone who is there to create a heterosexual facade for someone who might be gay or bisexual. Now, again, I don't know Will Smith's business, so I can't say I don't know. But I'm not going to say that there haven't been things that he's done or that there's never been speculation about his sexuality. I mean, one of his first movies that he broke into was him playing a gay role. So I think that also could be a factor. Like the reason why he might be accepting a lot of this from her is because her presence may be allowing him to hide a certain lifestyle that he may not be able to show the public. So there's a lot going on. You have his abuse growing up. You have the relationship. You have the branding, and I think it all mixes together to have a perfect situation for a perfect disaster. But again, I'm not saying I disagree with what Lego said. I 100% agree. Also, that is his responsibility to like if this is not the situation that he wants to be in, and he is getting disrespected by his wife, he definitely absolutely should not be accepting that, and he should be combating that to the fullest degree. But I don't know what's going on in his life. There seems to be a reason why he's keeping her around that we don't know about. And but I also agree with Trev because like her actions are pretty sucky. Like yo, the red table talk thing, yeah, he might have approved it, but a certain quality of woman would never even have conceived red table talks.
She was never a certain quality of woman.
And on top of that, hold on, I'm not done. And on top of that, one thing Paris mentioned too is Paris made it clear that whatever Will Smith is doing, we don't know about it, right? Like we're saying he went off the country, but we don't hear about Will Smith's business, but we hear about Jada's business. So that just shows a difference so they could both be running the streets. But in reality, on some level, Will Smith respects that relationship more than she does because we don't know none of his dirt. That shit is as quiet as a mouse. So I'm gonna land there.
That I can't give you everything else. I understand. And even the beard thing, I won't get into that. I feel like we do that thing where we try to make every man in Hollywood gay. I don't do that, especially with black men, because it's unnecessary. But I will say, when it comes to him having a savior complex, I'm not going to give you no brownie points for that one, Clout. You had a wife. If imagery was important for you, that means you shouldn't have been able to go through a first divorce in the first place, regardless of how you righted that wrong, right? Regardless of how you righted that wrong. The reality is, Will has said this, his ex-wife has said this, and Jada has said this. He begged and pleaded. He started being mean to that woman. He started basically forcing her out the door so he can go and be with Jada.
So he could be with Jada.
Have no guilt behind it. But
she wasn't broken. That's why. He wasn't saving her. She wasn't broken. No, but Jada was.
No, listen.
And guess what? Like you said, right?
Oh, let her finish, bro.
He ended up taking care of that ex-wife later, correct?
No, that's not the point. You made a point about imagery. He already had the perfect image. Jaden is his first son. And instead of him actually owning, right, this is the family that I created, I may have to miss out on her. What he did was force this woman into a divorce after he was already hounded down Jada in the process of him being with his wife. Jada was constantly turning him down. Constantly. Like, she was constantly, it was always a thing. He eventually got her, but they got married on an accident. It was on a whim. They got married because it seemed like the right thing to do because she was pregnant. That was the imagery. The real imagery was, I'm not going to make Jada Pinkett a baby mama. But before then, Jaden was already born. Jaden was like 7 when Jade Troy. No, his name is Troy. Troy was Trey. Trey was already born when Jaden came into the picture.
Trey was in his music video.
They're like 6 or 7 years apart. So the imagery was, you already a divorcee and then you got a baby mama, and then you turn around and you marry her just because she was pregnant. So that's where the imagery, but it was literally 7 years in between then. That man made that decision. And the fact that he sat there and talked all the time about how, dealing with Trey, feeling left out, how Jada had to go and bring them together because her and the ex-wife didn't get along. The best solution was moving the ex-wife into the house. So you still ended up with your ex-wife anyways. You did not right no wrong or make your image no better. All you did was take that bill and put it in the house with you.